One braid to rule them all, one braid to find them, one braid to bring them all and in the darkness bind them. Hello and welcome. I'm Maria from Souther Time, and this time we're using one braid and doing 150 years of hair. We're doing hairstyles from 1840 to 1940, and though this era is an era of elaborate hairstyles and really fancy updos and really like intricate hair, this time we're doing simple hairstyles that are quick and easy to do, and all you need is one long braid. It doesn't need to be ridiculously long like mine. As long as you have about 5 to 6 inches of braid, that is enough. If your hair is not naturally long enough, you can definitely use like a clip-on braid. That is perfectly fine. But let's get to making some easy hairstyles. The things you'll need is you'll need either U-pins or bobby pins. It doesn't matter, whichever kind you prefer. And then, of course, an elastic to secure the braid, or you could use a ribbon. And then for some of the hairstyles, specifically the Edwardian hairstyle, you will need some sort of hair cushion to fill out the top bit. You could use a hair rat, so like your actual hair, or you could use a made cushion like mine. Mine is about 14 inches to 2 inches wide, and this is just filled with linen woven, I think. And but it doesn't need to, you don't have to make anything. It doesn't need to be this size. It's just that I like this size because it goes from ear to ear. It gives me a nice pompadour. I prefer it. But you can use, one of those donut filler thingies just cut open, or your real hair, or a hair piece, or any sort of filler you want. And we're going to do this in a little bit of a weird order because, again, we're going to be fluffing this bit up, and it's easier to do it in this order for me to show. And then in the end, I'm going to show it in the right order, all of it. Let's start with the 1840s and 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They all basically work with the same basic braid. So you just put a braid at the nape of your neck. Mine is already braided, as you can see. And then what you do is you just make a circle with the braid at the back of your head, a loop. So if your hair is not long enough to make like mini loops, you just go boop, and that's it. And then secure it with pins. As long as it makes that one loop, it's enough. If your hair is longer, you can do several loops, or you can just do a ginormous loop, but you want to keep it at the back of your head. You don't want it big. It's so big that it will go like in a crown braid style. You don't want a crown braid. We want to keep it at the back of your head. And then secure it with pins. And now if your hair is short enough to end it there, then you just end it there. Mine is long, so I can almost do 2, not quite. And if you're using the U-pins or like hairpins, the way to secure them is you go in one direction with the pin, stick it somewhat in, but leave a good amount of the pin showing. And then you go 180 degrees in the hair and then push it all the way. That way it will secure itself. It will actually hold the hair and it won't come out. And now when you reach the end of the hair, whether it is, how many ever times you've gone around, where we have this elastic and the like end bits, you want to tuck the ends onto the inside and the elastic. So you just flip it so that the braid covers it, and then hide it next to the hair, and like just make sure that there aren't weird ends poking out, that it is all covered by that braid.
Left as is, this is appropriate for 1870s and 1880s.
But then if you want to go earlier, 1860s tended to have a bit of volume here. So you can just like lift the ends of the hair. Because the 1860s has a little bit of volume here, you want to keep it so that there's like more volume around your face. Whereas 1870s and 1880s is very like sleek. You want to keep the hair sleek. So this would work just like this for 1860s.
And for the 1860s, we sweep the bangs to the sides. And next for the 1850s, you pull out even more hair, creating even more volume around your face. And here's the finished 1950s look. And for the 1840s, instead of pulling the hair to create volume at the sides, we pull the hair down to create swoops over the ears. And again, no bangs. Here's the finished 1940s look.
But now for the 1890s, we're doing something different because 1890s hair in general tends to be quite high buns.
You flip your braid up and pin the bottom in place.
And if your braid is shorter, you could just flip it up like this, and then again, flip the end, like turn the braid on itself like that, and make sure that all these fluffy bits stay underneath the braid, and just secure that on your head. But because my hair is long,
I loop the hair as many times as needed to get it from the nape of my neck to the top of my head, forming a kind of banana at the back of my head. And for the 1890s, I curl my bangs since short and curly bangs were the most fashionable. And here's the finished 1890s look.
now we're going to do all the rest except for 1920s hair with a crown braid. If your hair is not long enough for a crown braid is the thing where your braid wraps around your head at the front and all the way around, or at least till the ear. If your hair is not long enough to do that, then you can do milkmaid braids, and that means braids start from here. You do double, one on both sides, and then you just flip them all over the top. And then lastly, we're going to do 1920s because that is a different style. So let's get started. We'll start with 1930s. So 1930s is basically all about waves. And most of it is short hair. So with long hair, we tend to mimic the short hair.
I pin the loose hair at the side of my face so that it creates a loose, kind of wavy hairline.
I am going to start making the crown braid over top, making sure that the waves stay in place. And then for the back, since my hair does reach the very back, I just follow the hairline here in the back. And then because my hair is longer, it goes over the point where it would meet. So I just roll that very end in.
And here's the finished 1930s look.
And now for the 19 teens, we basically do the same braid as the 1930s, except that we want more fluff around the face. I like to hold my braid here when I pull this side out so that I see what it actually ends up looking like. And then we do the same crown braid.
And here's the finished 19-teens look.
For the 1940s, we want to use the same amount of hair about that we dragged out for the 19-teens. So you want it to cover both of your ears. You want it droopy like that. And then you just do the braid. And then what we do to make this same hairstyle 1940s is we flip this excess hair from the sides over that crown braid so that we create kind of like an almost fake victory roll here on the sides.
And here's the finished 1940s look. And now for that early 1900s look, we take that hair cushion and Bring that droopy side hair over the top of the cushion and pin it in place. You can also do this before you braid your hair if you find that more easy. I just didn't bother. Next, you flip that braid over and form that crown braid on top. And pin those bangs to form a part of the pompadour. And here's the finished early 1900s look. And now lastly, the 1920s. We want, again, a lot of fluff around the face before that braid starts. And this time, instead of making a crown braid, we're going to make a low braid that covers both ears. If your braid is not long enough to cover both ears and flip from the back, then you want to make two separate braids at the side of your face, kind of low behind your ears, so that it will be able to cover your ears. Basically, kind of like Leia buns. And lastly, if you have bangs, we want to frame your face with the little curls. And here's the finished 1920s look. And there you have it, simple hairstyles from 1840s all the way to 1940s using just one single braid. These wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for the most elaborate or formal occasions, but these are simple everyday styles that you can easily do and that you can do also for modern history bounding to give your everyday look a little bit of a vintage flair. While I continue to show you this evolution of style, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please remember to hit that like button because it really does help out in this world. And in the comments below, let me know if you have a favorite among these styles.